All right, guys. So I don't know when I was never trying to have someone draw the questionnaire, so I can kind of look over a list of things that people want to talk about. A lot of the questions that I get asked are typically on the race side, not the business side. Is preparation for nationals. I mean, it's if anybody here has been through, I know Rain thinks it's these big races. It's crazy. Like you'll get the top 10 guys, literally 2/10 from 1 to 10. And those, like at the Worlds, you don't even get to pass. I think I qualified 6th at the World and I finished 5th. It just going wrecked. It was a training, tired. So, so everything's a learning experience. And so I've been doing this role for 20 years, an engineer and a machinist since I was 13. So my mindset is a little different than most because of my experience of doing those types of things. I'm very competitive. I don't like to lose in anything at all. So, and it drives me. Like the things that I design, the things that I come up with are typically stuff that I'll wake up in the middle of the night and roll over, have a notepad. I'll think of something, write it down, and then in the morning I'll go to the cabin and try to make it. It's simple as that. I've got full machine shop at my access. I've got printers. I've got pretty much everything I need to make. Whatever comes to my head, I can usually figure out. Back to the racing side. So I think the number one thing with anybody who's going to start doing this, or really anything, really is practice. Practice is where you make your ground, where you make your progress. I want to make sure that everyone at some point today gets a chance to drive one of my cars. And the reason why I say that is because what turned my light on in my head was driving someone else's car that I know was fast. Because then I always knew what to search for. So once I drove a fast car, it was over. Because when I thought it was good, it wasn't good. It wasn't good. And the whole thing about slow is fast and fast usually isn't slow is actually true. Because you'll watch the faster guys, and most of us, we don't look like we're going that fast. We just are fast. So that again comes from setup, a lot of practice. I have a 3,000 square foot facility that has I have a track in there and just my stuff. I'm not open to the public. I don't want to see anybody. So I go in the morning and I do my shipping, my orders, and I'll probably do 1,500 laps a week. It's just testing stuff and trying this. And I'm at the point now where anything that I try, I can't explain it. Anything I think of, I'm going to go in the car and see it happen. I'm not one to follow. I said, anyone who's noticed my products, I'm different than everybody. And I do that on purpose. I don't really want to copy. I really don't like people copying me. Yeah. I will create a car just to take somebody down. GM. Okay, anyway, yeah, I'm from Houston, Texas. 54 years old, been married for 28 years. I have a 25-year-old daughter and a 19-year-old son. So everybody's healthy and happy. So that's I get to enjoy life, get to travel around, meet people, help, and I enjoy doing. Some of you have known me for a long time. Some of you know me for a long time. We just met. Known him for years and never shook his hand. So I want to start with questions. It's easier for me to have you guys ask me questions than me to just get set up and waste a lot of time. So anybody have questions, anything simple, anything hard, how you do this, how you do that, what's my theory on things.
I'm going to throw out a question just because I know that we don't deal with any, you can come with others. The Dual Rate Expo thing on your radio, he's been opening my eyes to how that actually works. Can you explain the Dual Rate Expo on what it's the dual rate? I'm gonna let him explain it really. It's still confusing.
I'm gonna sound just like you.
It's still confusing to me. Can you explain it to you, Chris?
Yeah. So I think
It's
Chris.
really confusing.
I think Chris, right? Chris.
Yeah.
So what do? Are you numbers?
I'm a very technical guy.
Okay. I'm gonna say you're about the first person I talked to that we can actually. It's very hard to explain Dual Rate Expo if you're not a numbers person because it all drives off of it. But I'm going to give you the layman's version. So, all right. So let's start from the basics. Let's start with endpoint adjustment on your radio. Okay. So endpoint adjustment on on your radio is just that. So when you set the EPA on your radio, and everyone you must do this, like it's something you gotta do, you're never gonna go down on track. What you can do on outside or on an off-road buggy or a 10 scale, you cannot do. What you can get away with on 8 scale and 10 scale, you cannot get away with. Here, you only got 3 feet, high grip, and you're just gonna bounce off everything. So really, this scale is more precise than the other scale. I went to 2020 Worlds and Nitro GT, and if I had known half of what I know now, I probably would have won. I didn't at the time. That was just 4 years ago. It's simple. So precise. So let's start with that. Endpoint adjustment. Now what that means is your right and your left turn. Now most people will get the car, get the rail, put it 100% thinking that it's going to be dead even. It's usually not. Especially with the like the pan cars, like car with the servos. You may have my servo, or you may have a PA servo, you may have whatever. They're all going to be a little bit different. So you have to learn to set that up. And we're going to go. After I talk, we'll go back over this a little bit. Also, that way everybody kind of put something to what I'm trying to say. So, endpoint adjustment is endpoint adjustment. That's basically right lock, left lock, right? And that doesn't mean, like, if you set your EPA to 90, but it really needs to be set at 80 because at 90 you already max it out. It's really the best way to do that is set it on the track and do circle. I'll show you a really good method for that again when I get to the track part. And then, okay, so let's say you have your EPAs set even so the car is good right and good left. Now, there's a lot of things I'm going to kind of go off of this for a second. So, this is a shameless plug in a sense, but I want everybody to understand that any product that you see of mine, I usually take 6 to 7 months to release. I have tested these out of it, but I'll test it, but I look to my team to test it, and I do a lot. I'm really a data-driven type of person. So if something doesn't work, you won't see it, period. I'm not gonna say that's crap. It's not gonna be, right? So I'm saying that because my biggest complaint up until I released my servos, and if anybody again has been to a big race, you'll see that all the pros were sitting, we'll get the drivers in, and what we'll do is we'll make circles every single time they get to the track because the turbos weren't holding center. Or the ATF RC circles especially, you'll run a car and then after you race the car, you come back and you plug the car back in, get back on the track and it won't turn right. That's just a circle. I talked to them before I made my circles, okay, you can fix it, and when I did, so what do? I get my own circle, period. My servos don't do that. I have not tested my servo settings since I've been here. I haven't tested them since I put them in the car. They don't move, right? I've also tuned my servos. What I mean by that, these are programmable, but I tune them. And when I have them made like the factory, I had to put my tune in the servos. Because these servos aren't really made for all cars, they're made for all types of tanks or whatever. And I have to set it on right. So anyone, again, when you drive my car, the first thing you're gonna notice is very, very, very smooth. Like everything is linear, nothing will not go just go really well. So I said that, saying that, because once you set 3 Ps on mine, they're not gonna. No reason to ever touch that. If you do, something's wrong with the car. You can't. You have a link that's not equal, it could be. So let's get to the dual rate and extra. So dual rate, just by definition, is a dual rate. So what that means is the dual part means left and right because you have the EPA, which is left and right. So if you have your EPA set at 100 on both sides, we're just going to say it to keep it simple. And I put a dual rate of -5. It's going to take the right side and come down to 95, the left side and come down to 95. That way your EPA stays the same. I'm not saying the same, sorry. You're still equal left and right. But now you won't turn as much. Does that kind of make sense? Right, yeah. So instead of making if you have your dual rate of 100 and the car turns in one little big tile, and I go dual rate of 50, it's going to go a big circle. But it'll still be even left and right.
And it's a linear relationship, right? So it's exact. If you said had it at 100, turned yours down 50, it's 50% of what you had at.
Yeah. Overcome. So, okay, so now that we kind of go, and once again, guys, like when I'm off the mic, by all means, ask me questions. I want you guys to make sure that you understand what I'm saying. Does that make sense? So if you guys have a question, ask me. I'm usually pretty good at explaining it. It's a lot better when I can be one-on-one and show you on the track. But in the gist of it, that's what we're doing. So what I'm going to tell you now is something that this is kind of advanced, right? And it's I'm telling you this because I literally just figured this. I was like, awesome on the top. I just figured this out myself probably about I don't know, earlier this year sometime. Believe it or not, I've been doing it for over 20 years. I just finally clicked to it. I never drove with Expo. I didn't like it. Because I didn't understand it at the time. And at that time also, I was doing a bigger scale car and it doesn't apply quite the same. It does work, but again, it wasn't a big deal then. Alright, so Expo and dual ring. I'm going to give you the short and simple and kind of sweet method. When I'm driving my car and I notice that I keep running into, if I go to turn into something and I keep hitting it constantly around the track or a certain spot, dual ring will control your entry steering and your exit steering. Okay? Anybody kind of get with me that? Basically, you divide your turns up into basically, you turn the your turning radius into, I split them up in 3 spots: entry, mid, and exit. That's what in my head, I'm thinking I need more mid steering, I need more exit steering, I need more entry steering, whatever it is, whatever track I'm doing. So, if I find myself running into the pipe, going into a turn consistently, the first thing I'm going to do is turn my dual rate down, 1 or 2 clicks, right? And it usually gets rid of that. Now, if I do that, and then all of a sudden the car wants to push, doesn't want to turn and push bomb because it means that the car will turn. So if I do that and the car wants to push, well then I need to adjust my expo. Expo controls the middle of the turn. When I tell you this, it's a lot easier. I've showed Jeff already, I've showed Ray, and I've showed Chris. I think it's a lot easier when I'm saying it, so you guys can feel it. And I'm going to work with everybody and show you this. So, you have a linear rate. When you turn your wheel, you don't get outside of your car and you don't go to the store and just jerk the roller, pull out, you drive the car. Right? I hope everybody does. You made it here today, so I'm going to assume that that's what you did, right? So when you're on the track, it's the same thing. If you find yourself doing this, you're way off. You're making it very hard to drive, you won't drive consistently. You need to be able to drive these cars pretty much the same as you drive in a sense, right? So that means that every single turn, you're going to have an entry, a mid, and an exit. Start getting that in your head, because that's what's going to happen. So now that I've told you that, every one of you is going to get on the track and start thinking, okay, mid turn, entry, mid, and exit every single turn. So if you have 100% dual rate, that means, of course, you're driving down the straightaway and you go to turn your wheel, you have a linear rate from 0 to 100, right? Now, what Expo does, everyone can see me as I'm explaining. So you've got a line here. This is 0, this is 100. And you actually, it's funny, you can look at when you go back and look at your radio manual, it's right there. it just doesn't make sense until we figure it out. Yeah, it's right there on it. So when you have 0 to 100, if I take Expo, what Expo does, it takes the middle of your rate, and it'll drop that number down, right? So now, your 0 and 100 are the exact same point, but what your radio does, it takes steering out, and then goes back up to that 100. Again, like I just said, this is your entry, this is your exit, this is your middle. Make sense, everybody? Good? Okay. So, if I find that I am pushing, right? Now let's say I don't have enough. No, let's say I have too much steering. That's what. If I have too much steering, the car is traction rolling in the middle of turn. I drive my car, I turn, and then it rolls. I don't mean like turn roll. I mean turn, oh great, and then it flips over. That means you have too much steering in the middle of turn. It's stuff, right? So what you're gonna do, you're gonna go to your Expo, and you're gonna put in a minus. I usually start off with 20, just to start so you have somewhere to work with, right? What that's gonna do now, instead of being 0, 50 to 100, you take it 20 out of this one. So now you've got 0, 30, and then back to that 100. So you've taken your actual EPA, let's make it simple. That's taking 20 points out of your EPA in the middle of the turn without you having to do it. It's the same thing as you driving a car and just barely turning it, but it does automatic. Does that make a little more sense? We're letting the radio work for you instead of you having to consider trying to drive super precise. You can still turn the wheel normally, but instead of it going 0 to 100, it's going to go 0, 30, and then back up to 100 as you're driving the car. So let your electronics work for you. Don't try to fight the car. If you're continuously fighting the car, it's just turning into you're not gonna have fun. You're gonna fight it. And you don't know what you're doing, and it turns out to get discouraged. Right, right. Yeah. So that is going to be too much. Okay, too much over will make you overshoot. If you were to set your EPA at say 90, whatever it is, and you leave it there, you don't change the dual rate, you need the dual rate also nothing on there. The car's gonna overshoot. It's probably gonna traction everywhere no matter what you do. So that's why we take the dual rate back. Speed on tracks. Think about it for a second. Straightaway means absolutely nothing. You're not gonna, it's very rarely that you're gonna pass someone on the straightaway in a spec class because they're all running pretty close to the same. You may get a little bit better. There are, what do we got? Anywhere from 10 to 13 turns on the track. A tenth of a second is about 2 or 3 inches, believe it or not. Not that much, right? So if you think about it, if you are concentrating on being fast and having speed, you're not ever going to be fast. You're going to overshoot every single turn. At the same time, you start thinking, okay, let me make sure that I get through each turn as fast as I can. Well, with 12 turns, you need about 1/4 inch per turn. And you just drop half a second by the end of the loop. Does that make sense, everyone? So don't fight speed, because speed is not going to live. Another thing you'll notice, some of you probably already know, is if you usually will run faster after your battery gets slower. Everyone does that. Because of what? You have less power, it's more control, right? So the whole thing about trying to make the car as fast as possible get it. The pro level, that's a different thing. Our consistency is high, so we can probably use it, but up until that point, there's no reason to fight something like that. You can't make, if your fast lap on your live RC is, say, 10 lap, right? Fast. But then your average is like 10.8, you're not. You need to be within 3/10 of your fast lap. That should be everyone's goal. If you can get within 3/10 of your fast lap, you're a fast person. Straight up. You can win more races doing that because you're not flipping over, you're not wrecking all for real. Because in MinizKnox, everyone will wreck. It's gonna happen. Like there's no way you're gonna make it through an 8-minute main without tag or something or flipping or whatever. It's just the way it is.
I got one more question. I think I want to show a demo of that example. Setting up a diff is really hard for me. Getting that, I don't know if anyone else had a problem setting diffs up on the back of their cars. What if you're holding both tires and you're feeling the gear? What kind of friction are you feeling for? What's a good setup and how's it supposed to feel?
The diffs are a little bit of doo-doo. Again, I'll use it for example, right? So Chris is up here and we're driving his car, and I asked him what he did to his car, and he said, I tightened the diff. And this is after he had already told me that he's having an issue with the car, having not enough mid-corner speed or just push it a little lazy in the middle of the corner. And so the first thing I did, we started talking about dual race expo, we got that kind of settled in. And then I asked him, I said, so what have you done in the car? And he said, well, I just put tires and I think tighten the diff up. And then I said, okay, well, let's loosen the diff up. As soon as we loosen the diff up, mid-corner came back, car got better, we loosened up more. 3 times we did it?
Yeah,
I think, 3 times, get looser. On a stock car, you really want your diff to be as loose as you can make it. This is the ball. You want the diff to be as loose as you can make it without slipping on a stock car with a ball. And the reason why I'm saying,
Can you describe slipping? What is slipping?
So you could basically, I think slipping is when you're holding the actual differential and the wheels can still rotate the action of it without rotating the other wheel. Is there
Right.
You put the car down and pull the trigger, and you hear it
You
spin.
get
Is
like
that
to slip.
slipping?
It will not spin, slip.
slip?
Well, here's a good challenge, right? So what Brandon and I do is I roll the car backwards.
Right.
And punch it.
Right.
And I say, just let it park, right? So that this will, and then it'll grab and go.
Right.
It'll give that little bit of, so that's where we set it for, and it varies based on the power level.
Exactly. Power level increment.
So if you got a lot of grip in your tires and you're rolling that backwards, when you hit that throttle, it should pop.
No.
It shouldn't try to pop. It
You don't
should
want that, no.
Slip a little and then catch.
You don't want the tires to spin.
Right. You don't want the tires to spin.
Now, on a slot car, it's hard to set because even with a lot of different slot car like the tires, but you have to kind of listen to it and get it feel. Another thing about diffs is that it's personal preference. Some people like the diffs to be stiffer. If you're a point and shoot driver, typically those guys like to have stiffer. Okay, so and the reason why I just said the ball diff and gear diff because my new diff comes out in about 2 weeks. They're energizing it right now. My diff is not a gear diff, it is not a ball diff, but I'm running it right now. The diffs in my car have been in my car for 3 months, non-touch, on purpose, and dry. Beat the shit out of it, just because I got to make sure that I'm full up. I don't want to hear the internet. So, anyway, so that'll be coming out. Feel free to come by and check it out. They are going to be pretty, it's good, it's really, really good. Yesterday I took a gear diff out of my GT car, put mine in it, and went almost, I think, 2 ticks quicker just by putting it in. No other changes. So it's something that I've been working on for about 8 months. I've been through 4 factories and it's been a total pain in my butt. But it's they're about done.
Any one product on the table that you have out that you want to tell anybody about up here, what you like, or specifically that we're wrapping on?
Most of this stuff is kind of like the ride height game is really cool, I think. The center phase is nice too. The new lipo bags. I don't know if anybody's been in an RC long enough and seen a lipo fire in a pit. It's scary as hell. Like that's not cool. Yeah, that's not cool. I think more tracks and facilities should make it mandatory to put your battery in the back because if my battery lights up right now, it's all going down. Like you can't. Those things. Has anybody seen a lipo fire? Yeah, it's not pretty. Like it's like a what do you call them? With the fireworks. What the fireworks? Anyway, it just sprays out. It's not safe. So anyway, yeah. So I had these done a couple weeks ago, just for that reason. I give them away because facilities, everybody needs to be safe.
Everybody's seen that Tesla, they have a chamber in their manufacturing plant to batteries, it dumps them, and then seals it, and it just lets it burn down. It doesn't go out, leaking in water. Wow.
Yeah, you can't go around like, they're just gonna go. Then the fumes will make everyone in the room will be, for like weeks. So anyway, on that, what else? My motors. So I'm gonna let you guys in on a little insight. People that aren't around the national, it's interesting how this works out. The national level racing is completely different from the club racing. A lot of things that you guys will never know nothing about, you never see it. All you guys see is the end result. So I'm gonna tell you guys a little story. So SRA, which is the rules that we're using today, they decided when they started this year, they're going to do a 3500 GT class, which is great. Everybody loves that class. Well, what's happening? But what was happening is they were allowing people to take the hobby motor, cut the rotor, put bearing in it, grind it, all this crap for a stock class, which is it. Drill the hole, so you drill the hole or cut the rotor. Okay, we're doing it both ways. Just so you can shim it to get more KVs out of it, and then you're basically, my thing is like just a wrist bond. I don't really understand all that, but the problem is that the owner of SRA was the one who started it. It doesn't make any sense to me. So what happened was it basically became a spec class. And the thing about it is, if you want me to build you that motor, it's $130. I won't do it for less. There's a lot of damn work, and I'll do it, but why are we spending $130 on a motor that's completely modified, you don't have to. So, again, because of how I am, I build a motor, my motors are sealed, you can't touch them. You cannot take them apart, they're done. And then I have 100 motors came in yesterday. So when I get back, I gotta sit at my desk and I gotta test every single motor. KV, resistance, crap, so that you guys get the motor. The point I'm making is my motor is faster than the hot wing motor and it's not touchable. You can't mess with it. So you buy the motor and it works everywhere, it's fast. You've seen my car today, it's fast. I it's faster than my car here. But it's a very, very fast motor, you don't have to mess with it, and it's legal. Straight up, statement. My 2500s are also the same way. The thing that we're running into, again, it's a little more insight on things that are happening. You guys are gonna get the end of it when it happens, but this is what's brewing up right now. The problem we're running into with our scale is that we only have really 2500, 3500, and then you have mod. And like I just said, right now our 3500 cars are faster than mod here on this track. Why? Because this track isn't really that big, but still, it's only a 3500 motor. So we don't have the range of motors like a 10 scale touring car does. They've got 10 motors spread out, they got everything. 29.5, 25.5, 21.5, 17.5, 13.5, 10.5. We can't do that because we don't have our overlap, performance overlap, won't allow. So, again, what I did was I created a very, very fast 2500 kV motor, again, that's sealed. So all you gotta do is buy the motor, put it in your car, and you will be fast as everybody else on the track, and faster than anything else. You cannot purchase a 2500 motor right now faster. You just can't. No one's figured it out yet. And I got one coming down, so trust me, when they catch up, I'm gonna be right back. So anyway, that's just more insight for you guys, and the reason why I'm bringing that up because at a club level, and I've seen this, I've been doing it for over 25 years, right? What will ruin a club faster than anything else is there's always one. There's that guy that always shows up, and he's just cheap. I mean, it's all there is to it. So then what happens? Then you got to cheat to keep up with that guy. Then you got, and so at the end of the day, you got a bunch of people that are having to run outside the rules to keep up with that one guy because they won't wait on that one guy. How do you stop that? Spend money. Can't touch it, can't take it apart, you buy it, and you go. Everyone's equal as far as parts. All right. So this is me trying to level the field. I could have easily just made 10 motors either by myself, but I'm not doing it. I'm making it where we gotta grow. We gotta get this, our scale needs to be as big as anything other scale. There's no reason why I should. I mean, anybody who's racing anything other than 128, this is great for traveling, man. Like I got one bag in the backpack, and I go everywhere. You race 8 scale buggy, that sucks, man. You got these big OGL bags and a backpack, and you got a laptop and all this stuff just to go to one race. It sucks, actually. I don't look forward to doing it. So it's a good thing. We're in a good place. Any questions? Yeah. Oh yeah.
Different bodies and affecting handling and knowing what body will fit maybe your driving style or versus having to buy 10 bodies and wasting money that you're not going to use.
Very, very, very good question. All right, he asked about bodies. Amazing as this is, for instance, I could take anybody's car here, especially not so much 2500, but still a little bit, but 3500 cars and mod cars. I could take anybody's mod car right now and take 2 millimeters off the back of the wing and the car would definitely be heavy. That's just 2 millimeters. So what that tells you and tells me is that bodies make a difference. It's hard to imagine these little cars have air, but we're at 30 mile an hour down the street. It's a pretty, yeah, F1 too, yeah, exactly, same thing. I'll drive it here in a little bit. So the question was bodies. So bodies are personal preference and chassis preference. The reflex cars typically don't like aggressive bodies because they have the dual AR. They don't have a lot of as much rear grip. So if you put an aggressive body on it, they don't understand. You've all seen it. That's why the P63, no one can run that on a reflex car. It's just way too much trickery. Whereas my car's a little bit in between. Earlier this year, you could run that more aggressive on my car, but I've kind of changed a bunch of things where it's getting closer to the same range. So I can run city aggressive bodies in mine. So to answer your question, bodies are huge. Now I wouldn't suggest buying everybody you can find. Find 2 or 3 and then stick with them. You can make anybody work with wing height or high ride height or there's a lot of ways to manipulate it. You can make the chassis handle per body too. So, I don't really use bodies for looks anymore. I don't really care what it looks like for the most part. And we all want to go fast in racing. So the prettiest body probably isn't going to be the best body you use in racing, but it may be. So that's kind of a gist of how bodies work. I typically stick with 2 bodies per car, and maybe I'll find one that works good on low grip, on high grip, but I'm not going to change bodies. Just, something new comes out that's crazy. I try everything, but I'm not going to bring it. Oh yeah, 94 body back, yeah, same thing, yeah, both the same body. So there's a lot of ways to manipulate that. A lot of that comes down to again driver style. If you're a 22 driver like more aggressive body, because all they do is run into a turn, hit the brake, rotate, and jam it off-road style, basically, for the most part. That does work on this. There are very few people that I can see pull that off on this. Christian, he drives ridiculous like that. Jason's the same way. Yeah. so yeah, those 2 can do that. There's a few others out there that do too. Most people cannot do that. But if you protect your style, you set the car forward and you can make it work.
Yeah, that's good.
Okay, offset. That's a good question. Everyone know what offset is or what we're referring to? The offset. All right. This is kind of. I'll explain this. Okay. Let's relate this to again to real cars. So on a real car, any car, your front wheel will pivot off the center of the wheel on a real car, right? If everyone looks at your car right now on the bench, what you're going to see is that the kingpin, or where the wheel rotates, is about 4 millimeters from the face of the wheel, the inside face of the wheel. Everyone kind of know what I'm talking about? All right? So, right. Here's the biggest, here's one of the myths that we run into. People think that putting a wide offset on the front of the car makes the car more stable. It doesn't because of that. The further you get away from that point, the more corner speed you will scrub, the slower the car will go. Now, there's the exception. When you do a wider offset, the car will go into the turn better, but then it pushes. Again, if you're a shoe driver, that's great. So you'll notice, like Chris Kemper, he runs like +3 front because he just comes in at Mach 5 and he's on the brake and looks around. It's fine. But most people can't do that. The trend right now is like +1 is the most beautiful. That's it. I make offset bearings that I sell. What my offset bearings do, they are a thinner bearing and it comes with 2 spacers. So what happens is, say for instance my wheels. So you take a zero MWX front wheel. I can get you -5, 0, 1, or 1.5 from that same wheel. The offset bearings will give me 0.5 plus or minus. And how I do that, they're over there, it's easier to see it, but basically I have a thin bearing, and that thin bearing will make the wheel go either inside or out, let's stay inside. So if we put a thin bearing on the inside of the wheel, it brings the wheel towards the kingpin, right? And then, but that leaves a gap on the outside, so I provide a spacer with the kit. You put the spacer on the outside, and you lose nothing, but you move the wheel inside. You can flip it and you go outside. And then my wheels also have they're dual lips, but the lips are the same size. So you take your tire and put the tire and move the tire out 1 millimeter. So you got 0, 1 right there. You got 0.5 plus minus with the bearing. So it's a lot easier to to fine tune. And 0.5 millimeter makes a difference. It just does. It's not really, you can definitely feel it. Okay, so let me get my car prepped and all. So,